Okay, this is IDL. I'm just updating from last week. We've got our longer term uptrend channel here, which we breached briefly and found a bit of support on. So we'll just zoom in on that. I've marked off some high volume bars as important areas of support and resistance. We've got our big one that's dwarfed everything, so that's going to be a major resistance there at $1.41. And we've got this other one here. I just scale that to get rid of that. It doesn't really help me a lot, does it? But anyway, prior to that, we've got this really high volume. Well, we've got this, it was high volume till this one came in. Bar here that's is now acting as resistance to the price moving up. So this is the area we really want to get above and through at the moment, because that's acting as supply now. And you can see how it works. You got your high volume kicks in. Then once we break the low of that high volume, we know it's, there's been some distribution there, a lot of it, as it's tried to thrust up above the highs, and then the next bar's closed off its high, and then and the price has just dropped after that. Just zoom in here. We've got this shorter term bit of a downtrend channel here as well, so we want to get away from that. We did have a bit of a shakeout here. I'll just try and I might get rid of that bar now. We had a shakeout over here that's shifted the price up, but it's caught resistance as it's hit into this the range of this bar here, and we've tagged the top of that bar and closed off it on increased volume. But there is buying within this bar here because it's closed down on increased volume, closing on the high, so there must have been buying in that bar for it to close on the high, or close near the high, and for the next bar to close up. So while it was crashing in August, there was some accumulation happening on that bar, but then as we come up into this range of this high volume bar over here, we're having a problem. So then the opposite happens. We get high volume going up, we close off the high, and then the price drops. We do get a bit of a test which looks okay, but it fails because the next bar closes lower and lower and just keeps closing lower, and finally we get another test here on top of this bar. It fails because it closes lower, but that's also a test bar. It fails because the next bar closes lower, but it is also a test bar. It's going down on less and less volume, so there's less and less selling pressure as it's coming back into the range of our shakeout bar over here. Then the next bar closes up on high volume as a result of that shakeout and takes us to the top of this downtrend channel. And now we have a problem this week because we've had high volume kick in and we've up thrust before closing lower. So it's high volume. It's a down bar though, so we'll have to see what happens. We're at the top of the channel and we're getting supply. We've got supply coming in there. That's a bit hard because that was we've got supply coming in there. We've got supply coming in here, and we've got supply coming in this week at the top of the channel. So this would probably have to come off, I would say, and I would look for, if we get some light volume again coming back down, to retest the top of this channel here again. So we've got the two channels. We've got that shorter term channel and we've got our longer term channel, and it's sort of coming to a point now where it's going to decide which way to go. And but the last bar is quite weak. I mean, that's the highest volume we've had for a while, apart from this bar. If we ignore our really high volume selling bar, that's the highest volume we've had for a long time, and it's up thrust before closing lower. So that's a lot of supply in there, and it could be that they have attempted to absorb the supply to the left here and failed, but I would expect that to drop lower this week, and then if we see some testing straight away, that would be good. But we are at the top of the channel now, so probably not the best place to be going long right now. We want to get away from this downtrend channel, and we really don't know what this high volume is about, but we suspect there's a lot of professional selling in there, and that will have to come off. And so we have a bit of background strength here with, well, it's not a lot of volume there, is it, compared to this is a lot of volume here, ultra high volume, and it's closed as a weak bar. So that I would expect to come off, and we'll just have to see where that retraces to decide how we're going. But if we break below our longer term uptrend channel, then we could possibly visit the low again, at the low of this bar here, or towards the middle of the channel. And but anyway, we'll just have to watch for signs of testing or anything like that. If we start getting low volume testing back into the body of our shakeout here, and then price closing higher, that would be positive. But I don't like, that's a lot of supply there, and I don't like that. Let's go to the daily just to see if we can get a better idea. There's a longer term channel. We do have a shorter term uptrend channel here as well on our daily chart. There we go. So it's come up here, we've come up into this area here. And there's a huge volume there. So it's at 15.78 million, and it's an up thrust on the daily, and that's very weak. So we've gapped up, caught a bit of supply, gone up on less volume, but still below the body of the bar down here. You could argue it's possibly a bit of testing, They're all closing high. This is a nice little test, but our response to that test is that we've up thrust on really high volume and we've closed lower. So that test has failed, and a failed test is a sign of weakness, a bit like a no demand. And so we have a weak bar there, and we have a weak bar, that really weak bar there now. Close lower, confirming the weakness within the up thrust. And I'll just scale that volume again. We've closed down, we've closed off the low, but I would expect us to that has to come back, because that's really high. That volume's really high, isn't it? Yeah, that has to come back. That looks like excessive. That looks excessive to what's necessary to push through. You could argue, maybe they're trying to absorb supply to the left here, but that's excessive to what's really needed to push through there. So you have nothing on these ones. They had no problem getting up there. There's not a lot of selling pressure on these, and it looked like they were testing. But then as soon as this showed up on Thursday on that high volume, you'd have to say, oh, that's just professional selling there, and that'll come off. I think that could be quite disastrous, actually. Yeah. And we're in the right spot, and that we're at the top of a downtrend channel, or downtrend, at least a downtrend line here connecting these tops. And it looked like it was trying to struggle over there, but as soon as that one turned up on Friday, I think that's game over. I think it's going to come back in. We can look for testing within the body of our highs. It's a bit hard to pick our high volume bars now because that dwarfs it, but I'd expect that to come off a ways now. And but if we see some light volume again testing on top of this, we've got this little uptrending channel on the daily speculative. We've hit the middle of the channel and come back. So if we see some testing, light volume testing on that channel, and get some bullish response to that, then maybe. But it's looking, I mean, that's apart from that one there. That's looking quite weak now. top of the channel. We're in an area of supply from over here, from these bars over here, where there's a bit of distribution happening, and then that's not wanting to go higher at the moment. That's what that's telling me. So I'd expect that to come off. And we can look at the $1.21, but I think it's the selling is so severe in there that I wouldn't expect that to hold. I'd more expect we'd look for testing below that, probably within the highest volume bar apart from that one and that one was that one, and that sort of trapped the price. And look, we've ducked below and above this bar within a bit of a range, but it's a bit of a downtrend, isn't it? And I would expect us to revisit the low of that bar at least at the $1.14, and probably more so the $1.11, and we'll just have to look for it. Look to see if we see some sign of strength come in, but that's a sign of weakness. It's a confirmed sign of weakness, and we'd have to expect lower prices from that. So that's IDL. GCN, again catching up from next week. Might just have a look at the weekly first. So there was our bag holding bar there, so narrow spread down bar on high volume. It was high volume then, but the volume's picked up now as we've gone up. Weak up thrust there, brings it back, a lot of supply, comes down on less volume, up on higher volume, down on less volume. And it's not really telling us a lot now. It's telling us there's not a lot of selling pressure, or not as much as there has been on this down bar, but a lot of the body of the bar is above the open, or above the close of the previous bar, so you could argue, well, there's not a lot of demand either in that bar, but it is a down bar. It is quite narrow spread, closed a bit off the low on light volume, so there's at the very least not a lot of selling pressure in that bar. And I would like to see the low of this highest volume bar here hold at the 1.4 cents. So we can come back down into there and test properly, because that's sort of a test, but it's a sort of a no demand, so it's not really giving us a clue as to direction. If it were to go up now on increased volume and spread, not too much, we've been getting too much volume as it's going up. We don't like that, so that's an up thrust high volume, and then it's come down on high volume but closed high, but the next bar is closed low, so it must have been selling in that one, but not less selling in this one, so that's allowed it to go up again on high volume, and it's come off. Yeah, we need that. We really need that to settle down, and I would be looking for a narrow spread bar again on top of the 1.4 just to see. We're getting a lot of supply coming in now, and it could be they're trying to absorb supply to the left here, but it just seems a little excessive, this volume now, but it has settled down a little bit this last week, so there's not a lot of selling pressure in there at the moment. So hopefully you'll get an increased bar going up. Most of the bars are increase on the up, decrease coming down, increase up. That one was a down bar, an up thrust on increased volume, so we don't like that. The next bar was not telling us a lot, but we've got decrease as it goes down, increase as it goes up, decrease as it goes down. So it's but we are starting to get some lower highs here and some lower lows on the weekly, except it's supported around the 1.2 there. And I think what you find is that it's trapped within this range of this high volume bar here from 2.5 cents to 1 cent. So I'd want to see it get away from that, I think, just to give us an idea, because at the moment it's going within a range and we don't really know what's going on, except the last bar is potentially strong. being it's not as much volume, but it's up thrust to close as well, so it's not giving us too much of a clue. Let's have a look at the daily. The daily, there's your high volume there, it's kicked in, and that's acted as a bit of support, buffer zone. And I've got high volume going up here. Let's zoom in. We've got this downtrend channel here that it's hit. I should have marked the high of this bar, high volume bar as well. That's 2.2, so we can. It's being a penny stock. It's quite erratic, so it's a bit hard to tell unless something really pops up and hits you in the face. But we've got really high volume here, and we've broken the low of this bar. We've come back, and we've never really got above back to the close of that bar, or we haven't really got above the high of this bar over here at least. It's come down, so not a lot of selling pressure as it comes down within the body of the bar, and then it goes up again. But we've got no demand. We've got these up thrusting type bars closing towards the low, so they're weak all this week. What's that? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh, hang on. What do we got? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Not a lot of activity at all. There, I'm probably leaning towards this downtrend channel still playing out and coming lower. There's not a lot of selling pressure there, but there's not a lot of response to it either. And the next bar, no selling pressure, so next bar closes a bit higher, but there's nothing, there's nothing really, no volume at all there, so not a lot of interest from the smart money, and that starts coming a bit of a worry then, because it could mean that they've packed their bags and gone home after distributing up here. So it's a little bit difficult, but I think we've got we can probably put connect those as a speculative line to watch to see if we get some bullish response at the 1.4 cents around there or towards the middle of this channel. But we are in a downtrend. The shorter term trend is down now. We've up thrust, no demand, come off. Not a lot of volume now, but we want to see some bullish response to this lack of selling pressure. But what it is really a lack of professional activity. There's not even in these bars that have tried to go up this week, there's not a lot of professional activity at all. So I would expect that to come off down to the 1.4 at least. And we want to get away from this downtrend channel, I think, before we really want to go long. Because it's just acting, it's jumping all over the place, but generally speaking, you've got supply coming in at the top here. So selling, selling, selling. So all these high volume bars, selling, 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 no selling, but nothing. No, it's no volume, no nothing. It's not going to go up on nothing past these areas of supply. It's come down on a bit of increased volume and narrow spread, so tried to support there, but failed. We get on really light volume, so not a lot of selling pressure now, but there's, I think from there onwards now we're starting to see just a lack of interest, and that might just see it roll until it's at a price where they're interested in it again. But so we'll go through high volume up, selling, 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 selling. Not a lot of selling now, and I think a lot of it will be catching supply over here, but I think that probably the volume is excessive to what's necessary to break out, and now it's starting to roll back down. Now it's challenged this top of this bar here, it's come off, and we want to see some sort of bullish response, like a price going up on increased volume and spread, to be real bullish about it. So I think that's going to come off a bit further yet, because we've got selling there, and selling there, and the result of that selling, the result of all this activity, because the volume is activity, is that we're making lower highs and we've started making lower lows, even though we've got some support here at the 1.4. Between the 1.1 and 1.4 is a support area, so that's where I'd be looking for some proper activity. But even our supports are getting lower. We've got 1.4 there, but we've got 1.2 there. So that's your risk, I think. Yeah, it's probably not one I would really be, unless I knew something about the company and thought it was going to be worth $1 one day. It's probably not one I would be looking at, because that can potentially go all the way back down to 1.1 very, unless the volume kicks in again, it'll just roll from lack of demand. 1.4 should provide some support, 1.2 should provide some support, and then you've got your 1 cent as well, or the 1.1 cent. But anyway, that's GCN. It's not really, it's just acting weak at the moment. We had a high volume up bar, and the result of that high volume is this week we've broken the low of that bar, and that's just showing that it's full of selling and acting weak at the moment. And even though there's not a lot of selling pressure there at the moment, I think it's there hasn't been really a positive response to show, well, they're testing, there's no supply there, that means they can take it up. But they haven't really taken it up, they just haven't been interested. And that's why you've got low volume, and that will just keep rolling until they do become interested again. And that's starting to look more and more now like some distribution in the tops there. But anyway, that's GCN.